your go to show for global football analysis and betting. Today's Tuesday, January 28th. But before we get started, I want to welcome my co host, the man, the Prince of Picks at Prince of Picks 10 on X and TikTok. How are you doing today, my guy?
Yes, sir. What's up, brother? Yeah, happy to do the show today. We gotta, I'll be honest with you guys. Today is a little bit more of a tricky slate for me. I had a difficulty finding some real locks today. But I do have some plays that I really like for tomorrow. You guys know tomorrow we have a huge slate of games. We got all the Champions League games taking place all at the same time. So that's going to be really intense and exciting to see how that all unfolds. And then Thursday we got the Europa League, which is the same scenario. They're all going to be playing at the same time. You got teams fighting for the playoff positions, fighting for the automatic top eight. So it's going to be a lot of drama. I'm really excited to see how it all folds out. But yeah, there's definitely some winnable lines here for the slates of games tomorrow that I'll be covering here shortly. But yeah, man, other than that, everything's good. We're trying to keep cashing out these tickets. VIPs have been hidden. So by the way, if you guys are interested in more of my Champions League plays, that's going to be on the VIP channel, including any and all live betting opportunities. So if you guys want more information on that, you can check my pinned post on my X profile.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks so much. What we're going to go ahead and do today is, as Prince mentioned, it's a very difficult slate. I got one pick for today. I'm going to put that at the end. I got to have a lot of analysis for some leagues that are hitting that'll be playing within the next upcoming days. We have tons and tons of leagues all throughout the world that are starting to return. And a lot of those leagues are those overnight leagues, over not even necessarily in Europe, but some of those Asian leagues, which are really top scoring leagues. The Middle Eastern leagues are back. We've got Mexico, some of those South American leagues as well. So North America is about to come back with Mexico that just did, but USA will be coming back here soon. And these are really, really high scoring leagues, some of the best in the world. Unfortunately, we haven't had lately, but we are about to have those. But let's dive in right now to a first league that we've been talking about constantly. And I want to touch on it because there are two matches tomorrow specifically. So we're going to take a look at Qatar. Qatar is just insane. Talk about it every single week because we got to keep it in the forefront of our minds. These are some ugly lines. They're usually giving us over 3 and over 3.5, which is very difficult to be able to find value because not as many go over 3.5 while they go over 2.5. We got Qatar trending pretty well, but in the last five, we only have one of four, or one of five, excuse me, one and four, one of five hitting BTTS. So it's a little bit down as far as both teams coming back from break scoring, but that over or and it's 36 and 14 at 72% for the last 50 matches. So it is trending. But just lately, when it's come back, we have a few teams that are kind of struggling. Al Sadd, one of the top teams in the league, really shocking. They were over 2.5 in just about every single league match until the break came back. And all of a sudden, they've crapped the bed. They're like 1-0, 0-0. I'm not sure what has happened. Afif was playing, but we have had a lot of turnover in personnel, as we've been mentioning. Tons of personnel all throughout the Middle East, going everywhere, especially in Saudi. I see players every single day being sold to Saudi Arabia. It's insane. This morning, a Barcelona youngster, 4.5 million, sold to Saudi, 18 years old. It's happening every day. So these teams are changing like crazy. You saw that yesterday with Kadisha. I think it's Kadisha playing on Al Hilal. Haven't beaten Al Hilal in 2 decades. I said it was a decade because that's the matchup history I had. It wasn't. It was 2 decades. 20 years that they have not beat Al Hilal. We were up on them 2-1, and then they gave away our goal from VAR, and then scored by the luckiest goal in stoppage time. But that's part of what I want to talk about. Over 2.5 has now hit or that's when I talk about Saudi, but over 2.5 in Qatar has hit in 43 of the last 50 matches. 43 of 50. That is 86%. I cannot find a figure in the world, including Singapore, that is as high as this right now. Qatar is flying. And then when both teams do score in Qatar, 19 straight have hit the over 2.5. So you regularly see if both teams do score, it's going to hit that over. So the line that we like more in Qatar is that over 2.5. But as you see for those lines tomorrow, we got a 3.5 and we have an over 3. Difficult matchups, but these are again, we're only 4, 5, 6 matches back from break. So some things are happening right now, and we're watching and waiting till it gets settled before we attack more. I can talk about the Swiss and Mexico, but let's go ahead and jump into two of those leagues that you have your eye on before I jump back into a few leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, anytime you can mention the Singapore League in the same breath as another league, that's a league you want to keep your eye on. So, yeah, 100% for that. But as far as some leagues that I've been looking at, I actually found it's not a newer league, but it's a newer league on the books. Major Arena Soccer League. This is a league that I have been looking for quite a while. To be on one of these books, and I've had a really difficult time finding it, but I actually randomly came across it while I was looking for another league. I stumbled across it on DK. So DK has now started taking bets on the Major Arena Soccer League, which personally I've always been a huge fan of indoor soccer. I enjoyed it watching it as a kid. I went to a lot of the games here locally, Chicago Power games back in the day, in the Indoor Professional Soccer League. So it's something that's kind of personal for me that's always been a passion of mine. And obviously you're going to get a lot of goals in the indoor soccer. So, the lines are set at, the one that I saw the other time was 12 and a half goals, right? So you get some crazy lines here. Now, I will say that so far from what I've seen, the bets are rather limited as far as what you can bet. So it's very random. So one time there was an over under, another time it was just money line, three-way split. So, you got to pick and choose. But we're trying to get some more information on it. You do have a top team in the league in Chihuahua FC who they've scored 111 goals. The next highest scoring team is about like 80 goals. So they've scored like 31 goals more than the next team. So you do have some top, performers, and then some of your bottom teams who concede on a regular basis as well. So those are things that we kind of look for whenever you're looking for leagues that are trending. You want to see, teams that score a lot. You want to see teams that concede a lot, because that makes it easier to kind of handicap. So it's definitely something that we're going to keep our eye on here and take a closer look at. Another league that I've kind of stumbled across here and done some more research on is Liga MX for the women. So I believe that's called Feminel,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. This is a league that trending right now. We're seeing some performance here in terms of goal output. 14 out of the 18 teams have averaged one goal per game, and also 14 out of the 18 different have conceded one goal per game. So you're seeing goals going on both sides here. You do have some top performers with Mazatlan currently averaging 4+ goals per game. Puebla, they're averaging 3+ goals per game here. And then you have teams on the other side. I'm sorry, those are teams are allowing 4+. Mazatlan is allowing 4+ per game. Puebla is allowing 3+ per game. So those teams are conceding regularly. And then you have teams on the other side here who are scoring. Club America averaging about 4 goals scored per game. Pachuca and Monterrey averaging about 3 goals scored per game. So you have your top performers, you have your bottom performers in the wrong way in terms of conceding. And then you have 9 teams here who are averaging BTTS. So again, you're starting to see a trend here with some goals coming in here in the Liga MX for the women. And it is a league that has just started. For me, typically, I like to wait until about 5 games are played in the league before I really start to, handicap it. I think after 5 games, you kind of get an idea of who's who in terms of your goal output, and how far they concede. And so that's about where we're at right now with this league. So that's definitely something that we're going to keep a closer eye on here going forward.
I love that. The women's game in general is higher scoring than the men's game, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why that is. One big reason is we talk about it with Singapore. It's the size of the goalkeepers,
Cool.
right? You have the same size net in the men's game that you do the women's game. This is not basketball. We haven't changed the ball size or anything like that in order to fit the game. The women have to adapt to the men's game, which means the same size ball, the same size field. And the players are just not big enough. There's more space in the women's game. They take shots from further out. There's just not as much saves. There's so much about the women's game to like. That's my next progression as a bettor is to get more familiar with the women's game. I don't have a lot of opportunities to bet it. Mexico's a league that I have. You have the England Super League, and a few of these cup competitions as far as like the internationals. I enjoy betting those, but this is some new stuff to me. We've got some stuff that is coming back as well. So just like Prince mentioned, Mexico is a top scoring league, not just on the women's side, but also on the men's side, oddly enough. So we've come back from break, Mexico hitting pretty regularly. You've got that BTTS coming in, since its return from break. So not just like the whole league, since its return from break is now coming in 20-6. That's 77%. That is over 3 out of every 4 matches are coming in hitting both teams to score. That's wild, especially with the over 2.5, which is not really coming in as high. It's at 14 and 12 over the last 26. You're seeing a lot of ties, which is really irregular. So that's something to mention. If you're looking at lines in Liga MX, you're looking more at Liga BTTS, not Liga over 2.5. You want to make sure that, or looking at both teams to score. Sometimes we don't get that second goal for each team, but Liga MX has been killing it. There are a bunch of teams that are perfect since break, just 3 matches, but we want to notate those because there's 5 matches tonight going on, and we have another 4 or 5 matches tomorrow. So these games are coming on thick and heavy. As Prince said, we don't really like to bet the first few matches of the when the league returns. There's a whole lot of players that are coming in. For instance, yesterday, big name coming to Liga MX. Did you hear who it was?
No, who?
Al Hilal sold Neymar. Neymar's coming to
Oh,
Santos. So it's like we've got bigger names coming in. You see Liga MX right now is kind of taking a backseat to the MLS, like just slightly. And they don't like that. The Mexican Soccer League is a better historical soccer league than the United States. So if there's more money pouring into the United States, you better believe the Mexicans are saying, this is not how it's going to be. We are the better soccer country. We've been doing this for a long time. We own you guys head to head. We're going to bring in some good players. So we're starting to see a lot of better players in Mexico. Love that. And I think that's the where the scoring is starting to kick in a little bit. You got Mazatlan and Puebla who play. They both hit both teams to score in all 3 of their matches thus far this season. Some pretty poor teams. Mazatlan's only scored like 5 of their last 14 matches, which isn't really great, but they have in all 3 matches this season. You've got Puebla, who's a regular conceder. They're okay on the scoring end. Toluca, all 3. Tijuana, all 3. Monterrey, all 3. You've got Pachuca, who's hit 2 out of their 2. And then you have Necaxa, San Luis, excuse me, who have hit over 2.5 in all 3 of their matches. And Pachuca, who's hit over 2.5 in their 2 matches. So regular scoring in Mexico. Really like what I'm seeing. It's weird though because I wouldn't even say every game has a total EXG like you would see in some of these leagues throughout the world. But really, you're just seeing some maybe defensive laps or some good shot. You're just seeing a lot more goal production in this league. So I like what I'm seeing. In addition to that, we've talked about the Swiss Challenge League. Well, the Swiss Challenge League is absolutely flying and has been for a long time. The Swiss Challenge League is just now coming back from break. We only had a few matches. Before break, it was absolutely one of the highest performing leagues in the world. BTTS is now 29-6. 35 matches have only 6 of them failed to hit both teams to score over 2.5 at 24 and 11. Those are great numbers. They came back hitting regularly. So it looks good in our first week back. But we're going to continue to monitor that. That's a league needs to be in front of you because you're not really going to get a good BTTS line. You're going to have to wait till a little bit into the match, and not every over 2.5 hits. So it is a bit tricky, and we'll keep watching that. Those who have followed me knew we hit on that a lot last year, and we will again this year, but not just yet. Okay, so before I jump into the next league, do you want to go ahead and get into your first best bet for the Champions League tomorrow?
yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So, like I said, we got a lot of games tomorrow, but I'm going to cover a few of them here. And like I said earlier, the rest are going to be on the VIP channel. So, first up, we're going to go. All of these games are going to take place at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. The first one we're going to cover here: Aston Villa at home taking on Celtic. Both sides here, they need a win here to secure a top 8 spot in the table here. However, Celtic, they are winless in their last 10 away Champions League matches here. So this is a Celtic team, although they're very dominant playing in the Scottish Premier League. It's easy to do when you're playing against teams like Motherwell, Aberdeen, Hearts, Dundee United. You're playing those kind of teams. You can have a little bit more success. But whenever they go to European competitions, that's when stuff starts to hit the fan for them. And so they've definitely struggled on the road here in the Champions League. Meanwhile, Aston Villa on the other side here, undefeated in their last 3 Champions League matches at home, and in their last 9 overall at home. So Aston Villa. in great form here currently at home. They don't drop points very often here, and so I like Aston Villa to win this one outright. I'm actually going to take them -1 on an Asian handicap here at -125. I cut out some of the juice here. Money line last I checked was about -190, -195 is a little too juicy for me to give out on this show. So I'm okay with the push here if they only win by one. But given Celtics' poor form on the road here in the Champions League, not to mention their last home game, actually their last Champions League game that they played at home against Young Boys. If anyone watched that game, I mean, their lack of clinical finishing was actually just shocking. It took an own goal from Young Boys for them to get over the line in that one. And so, although they should have scored about 3 or 4 goals in that one, they actually didn't score any. It was Young Boys that ended up scoring just on the wrong goal. So Celtic ended up getting the win in that one. But I just don't like Celtic here in European competitions. Not at Villa. Villa's somewhat of a machine right now at home. And I like them to win it again outright here. But we're going to take -1. Aston Villa at -125.
That's Unai Emery ball. I love to bet on Unai Emery. I'm just a little bit scared of Aston Villa right now, especially the way they've come out the last few Champions League matches. Very complacent. This can't be a complacent match for them. But again, I'm a bit terrified. However, with that being said, Celtic looks horrid. Like the last few games, I don't know what's happened to them. They don't look like the same team. They're not
No,
attacking with the same vigor. They're not defending with the same veracity.
no.
So I'm scared about just everything Celtic. I'm looking at the standings right now, so I'm trying to pull up. We got Villa, 7 games played. They are where are they? They are at ninth in the table. So any loss for Villa is just going to keep them in that middle zone. But any win for Villa has a great chance to put them in that top 8. So 3 points for them is an absolute necessity. Whereas Celtic, they're down here with 12 at the cutoff line at 10. So I could see them looking for that draw. The draw puts them into that category. That win give them 3 points. It's not going to do anything. They're still going to be in that middle zone, and they're going to have to be drawn with somebody. So maybe there's some complacency there. Villa score early. Maybe they sit back. We'll see. Maybe they save their energy. I'm very interested to see how that one goes. Just because Unai Emery, I just love the way he coaches. He's always got a game plan that's different than all the other managers. So you come out there, get on the field, you don't really necessarily know what to expect. He's got different formations, got people doing different jobs. It's really cool. I love what he does. Okay, so that's a really interesting look for tomorrow. I don't have my data on that, so I don't have anything to back it up, nor do I know what the money is. With Champions League and Europa, I have this app where I can find where all the public money is, as well as the sharp money. So where everything's going, and it kind of can lead you into a different things in a similar way that the NFL does. But that data is not going to come out until the morning. So you'll expect me to have a more comprehensive idea for tomorrow. Very excited with that. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a league to talk about my last league. Man, I've been talking about this league for a few weeks now because we're getting some of the most ridiculous football, ridiculous scores, and how things are going. Nothing makes sense, but yet everything makes sense. Saudi Pro League. What is going on in Saudi Arabia? We've been talking about this league, the new players, the different coaches, the lack of defense, the heavy offense. But what we're seeing specifically are late goals, late goals galore. So in the stats we have trending right now, we're both teams to score at 26 and 14. Those are really good numbers in Saudi Arabia. So if you're just betting the BTTS, you're getting good lines in Saudi Arabia still, because as Prince and I have talked about, lines are 6 months, 9 months ago. Saudi Arabia was not the same country. It's just completely different. So the computer hasn't had time to adjust. It might be the time we continue to attack. You've got both teams to score at 26 and 14. So over the last 40. Then you have over 2.5, 37 and 10. That is 79%. 4 out of every 5 matches are hitting that over 2.5. But let's take a look at those 3 matches yesterday. Because yes, all 3 hit over 2.5, but all 3 hit over 2.5 in stoppage time. Absolutely wow. 3 straight games that were 1-1, that had a game deciding goal in the 93rd, the 94th, and the 96th. 3 straight respective games. That would be weird if it wasn't happening all the time. So let's look at late goals in the last 39 matches. 80 to 80, or sorry, 80 minute to 90th minute, 15 goals in the last 39 matches. That's not too bad. That's about, just under one out of every two. But then it kicks up. In the 90 plus, they've had 25 goals in the last 39 matches. So if you combine those two figures, you're at 40 goals in the last 39 matches at minute 80 plus. And at minute 80, you're starting to get plus money lines. So if you have anything that's above 50% like that, it's a no brainer. I mean, there are people who I've been posting about that. And some people aren't even playing these games until the 85th and the 86th and the 87th because of the absurdity that's going on. Plus 500, plus 300, plus 400, all these great numbers late in the game. And you're just seeing that regular goal. 29 of the last 39 matches have had an 80 plus goal. So that's 75%. Some of those goals have had more, obviously, but that figure is very important. So you know that 3 out of every 4 matches that you're betting on, you can conceivably expect to have a goal in minute 80 plus. That is just simply outrageous. So we're going to continue to follow Saudi Pro, and we're going to continue to sprinkle on these advantageous lines. It might be something that we continue to just make an auto bet at minute 80. It's been that way for match after match after match. So let's continue to see what goes forward. We're just saying a lot of interesting numbers. I think they want these late goals as a league. I think they want some of these big teams to lose in order to look like the league is holistically better than it is. So there's some questionable calls. There's some interesting decisions, overturned VARs. So we're going to stay off of any type of money line or any type of draw no bet. And we're going to just look to continue to take on those goal lines. Okay, so what do you have for us for the bet number 2 for the Champions League?
Yes, sir. All right. So next up, we're going to be covering the match taking place between Bayern Munich hosting Slovan Bratislava here. Slovan buried at the bottom of the table here. No chance for any kind of promotion for them. 0-7 in the Champions League. Just a disastrous Champions League campaign for them. They're allowing over 3 goals per game here in the Champions League. So they've been getting blown out pretty regularly here. Meanwhile, this is a must win for Bayern to get into the top 8. Currently, where they're at in the standings. So, look, I don't have to overthink this one. I expect a comprehensive Bayern win here. I think they get out early and often. I'm going to take first half Bayern on an Asian handicap -2 at +110. Slovan, they have allowed 2+ goals in 5 out of their 7 Champions League first halves. So this is not only a team that's getting blown out, they're getting blown out early and they are conceding early. With this one being played at Munich here, a Slovan team, nothing to play for. I don't know, do they really want to even be there? Maybe, maybe not. They're probably looking ahead to their fixture domestically over the weekend, and so everything to play for here for Bayern. I think they come out with their hair on fire. They had a obviously the Feyenoord match was an anomaly to me. Not scoring against them, it's just random as hell to be honest with you. But Feyenoord sometimes can be a tricky place to play. Same thing with Freiburg. I expected a little bit more of an output for them. Freiburg is another one of those teams that every now and then in an away game to Freiburg can kind of be a little bit tricky, but they were able to get the 2 goals there. But yeah, I think they right some wrongs here and just absolutely blow the hell out of this Slovan team here. So again, first half -2, +110 here for me.
Yeah, that total game -4.
Yeah, it's a
-4.
big
That
number.
that is that is wild. You don't see that very often. So this is
Yeah.
a very irregular game. Typically, when you see the books list a number this high, it covers. To be quite honest,
Yeah.
because it looks on paper like it's going to be a blowout. They should have chance after chance after chance.
Yeah.
We're looking at Bayern here on the table. They're sitting at with 7 games played. They're at 12 points. That is not good. A
Mhm.
win can kick them up to 15, and right now, that cutoff line is at 13. So you've got Leverkusen, Villa, Monaco, Feyenoord, Nord, Lille, Brest, Dortmund, all right there, hovering slightly ahead of Bayern. So they could possibly jump them with a really big, decisive victory. And so you expect them to come out hungry. I expect Vincent Company to have the boys locked in. This is a must win, and it's a must win in a convincing sense. They
Yeah.
need a performance. Bayern
Yeah.
have not looked good. They were down was it they were down at half no, they were up 1-0 at halftime,
Yeah.
and they weren't really playing very hard. They had like one or two shots, very low EXG. Yeah, they scored because they have good players, and that does happen,
Right.
but they're just not playing with that same veracity and that same vigor. I expect them to come out hard, and this team they're playing, they're not matched up well with them with Bayern. The way that they open up and the way that they move pieces back and forth. If they get a nice goal early, this could be crazy. Honestly, it could absolutely go wild.
Yep.
So next, I'm going to go ahead before Prince gets into his last Champions League look for tomorrow. I'm going to take a look at my best bet for today. I went through all of the English leagues today. I went through every league, but specifically the English leagues, trying to find something that really makes sense because I know we need a bet for today, but these English leagues have been really rough lately, hitting about 50% in almost all of them, up and down and up and down. Nothing really that you can find a lot of certainty with. However, there is one team that Prince and I have tailed many times in the past. It's a team that does regularly score and does regularly concede in the English League Two, specifically, which is the fourth flight of English football. We got a matchup between Accrington and Cheltenham. Accrington come in scoring in 20 of their 24 matches and 17 of the last 20 in the league, regular scorers, but better on the defensive end, or I say worse. They've conceded in 15 of their last 17 at home, which is really solid, but then 31 of their last 37 overall, and 2 plus in 10 of their last 13. So it's not just one, it's usually multiple. They play a nice open game plan that you like to see, typically like to overload. That's where you typically want to bet goals. Both teams' scores come in at 24 and 30 or 24 and 36, 66%. So two out of every three games, not bad. The over 2.5, 28 of 37 league matches at 76. So three out of every four hitting the over 2.5. And then when the both teams to score hits with Accrington, both teams to score or over 2.5 has come in 28 of the last 30 that hit both teams to score. So they regularly hit that over number. And they average 3.04 goals in the league. They're taking on Cheltenham, who's scored in 21 of 24 and 27 of their 31 league matches, regularly scoring in the league 2 plus in 8 of their 10. So they're coming in form, scoring multiple. They've conceded in 31 of 37 matches. That is regular. That is Accrington territory. Literally, they're both 37 and 30 or 31 and 37 conceding. And they've conceded in 16 of 18 league matches, 18 of the last 20 away from home. And they've conceded 2 plus goals in 5 of the last 6 away. So they're coming in form. They're hitting it like regularly or like crazy and on both sides. But there have been a few matches between the two lately where you're seeing a over three or a 2-0 or a 1-1 just occasionally, and it's enough to cause some concern. So what I'm going to do instead of taking both teams to score or at a two over 2.5, they have a little bit of a juice line. The over two minus 170. It's a bit more juice than I typically want to go with. But with what we're seeing in the English league right now in the lower division, I just think that that push condition could come in really valuable. If one team scores, it's easy for that team to get nick another goal. And if that other team doesn't score, it gives us at least a push condition or the ability to get a second or a third. You all know that goals are hard to come by, but yet sometimes so easy to come by. So I think an over two gives us a nice push with a minus 115 BTTS. The over two at minus 170, I feel is a little bit more of a better play, even with the juice. So that to me is my best bet for today. I've already sent that to the DubClub. I'm going to be looking at matches live. I really was interested in that Bromley match. Bromley is a team I've been tailing Bromley for time and time and time and time again. Let me get these stats and tell you why. But Bromley in the Division Two has just gotten promoted up from the I don't is it nationally nor fifth tier, whichever
Yeah.
one it is, got put up to EFL2. Bromley has hit both teams to score in 22 of their last 30. So regularly scoring, but the over 2.5 has now only come in 9 of their last 19. A lot of 1-1s, a lot of interesting figures. And Chesterfield, they're pretty solid. They score regularly 80% of their last 32 matches. They concede regularly 75% of their last 42. But both teams' scores only come in 5 of the last 13 matches. So it was enough cause for concern to push me away from that match. And honestly, there's not a lot to love right now. I feel Lately, there's just not as much scoring, so we're going to keep it light. There's also an interesting match in Australia overnight that I have my eye on, but with Central Coast, they're not hitting their figures as much as you'd like. Western is, and with Central Coast away from home, it's enough cause for concern to push off, see how they do in the next match. Those are kind of my looks over the next 24 hours, besides moving into Qatar tomorrow and then Liga MX tomorrow, and as well as Champions League tomorrow for in Europa League the next day. What else do you have for us in the Champions League for tomorrow?
Yep. So next up here, we're going to be covering the match between Dortmund at home taking on Shakhtar Donetsk in this one. Both teams here, they need a win. They both got to go for it here. Dortmund to get into the top eight. Meanwhile, Shakhtar, they need a win to have any chance of avoiding elimination. They're currently sitting about a couple points off the line here. And so both teams got to go for it. When that happens, you usually see goals here, especially with both of these sides. They're both averaging a BTTS right now in the Champions League play. Shakhtar, you look at Dortmund and how much of a great team they are, especially at home, right? It's where on the road where they seem to struggle, right? But the yellow wall at home has seemed to have been a fortress for them. And so you look at Shakhtar, you say, well, how does Shakhtar have a chance in this one? Well, Shakhtar, they've scored in 7 out of 8 Champions League away games. So this is a team that, despite the odds here, they always seem to find a way to score a goal, especially on the road. So for that reason here, and not to mention both teams needing to go for it. I think we see goals on both sides here. But getting BTTS at minus 135, I think that's a great value here, given the circumstances, given the trends here. I love that play a lot here, and that's the one that we're going to be attacking with. Again, both teams need to go for a win in this one. And then I actually have one more bonus play here that I just added about a half hour before we went live here. So this is new to Bradley, but I'm going to cover it real quick here for you guys. The Another match that I'm looking at here, Sporting CP at home taking on Bologna. Some interesting data here for this one. Sporting, they got to win here to guarantee a playoff spot in the table. They are undefeated in 39 out of 42 home games. Are Sporting here? They've averaged a BTTS has hit in 12 of their last 19 for Sporting. Meanwhile, Bologna on the other side, they have scored a goal in 8 straight matches. And BTTS has hit in 6 straight for Bologna. Bologna, they are eliminated already. However, this is a proud club here. This is a team that has, a lot of cachet, if you will, a lot of, prestige in the Serie A, right? This is a team that, they're going to want to go out on their shield here. Just because they're eliminated, they owe it to their fan base and to their loyal supporters to really put up a fight here. And with the Bologna team in form here, scoring, I think they have a chance here. A lot of big names over the years have come through the Bologna pitch. Not to mention Oscar Mayer, who is probably their biggest endorsement. Sorry, it's a dad joke there. Yeah, Bologna here, they're undefeated here in 12 out of 16 away games. Also, so they got a trend here on the road here. Does Bologna? So for this one, I like BTCS here at minus 125. I do think both sides can get on the board here. I don't think, Sporting, although they've been a fortress at home, I do think, given the scoring form that Bologna is in, I think they can get a goal here. Playing on the road doesn't seem to really intimidate them in terms of their current form. And I also think Bologna is a live dog here. I really do. I know that the books don't see it that way. I think the books have Sporting a little bit too heavily favored here. I don't think they're giving quite enough respect to Bologna. I think they're just looking at them being eliminated and thinking that they're just going to lay down. But I don't see that here. Bologna, they're also undefeated in 11 of their last 12 overall. So again, this is a team that is in form. Despite their poor form in the Champions League, they're in form overall. So if maybe look at this as a live bet potentially, just to kind of see how things play out early. Make sure there isn't any early goals for Sporting, and that might be something you want to look at, or maybe even a pre-match, maybe a double chance draw no bet for Bologna, just a little sprinkle on it. Something you might want to look at. But officially, we're going to go with both teams to score here minus 125.
I like that. You mentioned that they are a club that plays for pride. There's an interesting angle that I don't think a lot of people take. Typically, people will say this team's eliminated; they don't care anymore. We're just going to fade them. That is not the right strategy. Like let's put that perfectly clear. That's not the right strategy. So let me talk to you about it from a player's perspective. Pride is a huge thing in football, and not just pride, but playing without um, playing with scared to give up points is going to make you complacent, right? It's going to make you sit back, maybe not take as many chances. If you have nothing to play for, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do, which means typically you see teams kind of go for it. They want to score goals. They want to. This is the Champions League, for goodness sake. These are players. These are real human beings who want to put their name on the team sheet, want to put their name on the goal sheet. Get that Champions League goal. I really like these teams that have nothing to play for. I uh, went after Leipzig last week. They had nothing to play for in the bottom of the barrel. They came out and won 2-1 over Sporting in a game that you're really surprised at. They didn't, for some reason, Sporting didn't even start Victor Gyökeres. So these are also things you want to notate. But in the last match of this, you expect everybody to be playing, everybody to be playing hard. Sporting right now, they're only sitting 2 points above the drop zone. And you need to know who that team is who's right there below the drop zone. Manchester City. They're going to want to take 3 points. If they take a full 3 points and Sporting takes zero, they're going to jump them in the table. If Stuttgart grab a result against PSG, which they're sitting neck and neck in the table, Stuttgart could jump them. PSG is right there above them as well. So this is all about goal differential as well. These are very trying times. This is going to be a match that Sporting is going to come out and they're going to be almost scared to push forward. I expect them not to take as many chances. They've got a new manager, and he hasn't done as well as he has in the past, or as managers have in the past. And right now, I believe he was the Victoria Guimaraes coach.
Mm.
And for those who don't know, Victoria Guimaraes was a sit back in deep and counter squad. That's not going to work for Sporting. They have too many teams who are below them talent wise. If they sit back and absorb pressure, it's not going to be very advantageous for having better players. Better players, you want to play on the front foot. So, Sporting has got a lot of things they need to figure out right now, and they are in a scary place in the table. They need a performance, but you never really know. I thoroughly enjoy backing teams who have nothing to play for. I am looking at a match between two teams who have nothing to play for tomorrow, to be quite honest. One of my favorite matches. Haven't got there just yet because I need to see the lineup and the money. But, let's talk. I mean, we can talk about
Is it
where
is
I'm
it
here.
is it is it Young Boys?
Sverna Zvezda. Who
Yeah,
doesn't love
yeah.
Red Star?
I
They
was looking.
score in just about every match. They're conceding in just about every single match. I have stats on them from last time, which I can kind of decipher through. But Red Star, they've scored in 55 of 57 matches, which is just crazy. I mean, honestly, they've also conceded, or they've conceded now in 22 of 23 in Europe. So one match of the last 23. That's a long time, and that they haven't conceded, which means that's really poor opposition. They're away from home. They score regularly. They concede regularly, and when they hit both teams to score, Red Star specifically, 47 of the last 48 have hit over 2.5. Those could be angles that you look at. I got to see where the money is. I got to see if it drops overnight. I'm not. I think it's around a three, an over three. But again, I haven't done all my due diligence. There's a couple matches that I have been looking at. You got Qatar in the morning, Australia in the morning. Got a full day of Champions League. All matches in the Champions League are going to be taking place at the same time. So we're going to have plenty of time tomorrow to be able to analyze it. I'm going to come in, probably go live on X and analyze it in its entirety. Just the Champions League because it's so intensive and there's so much to know. Do you have anything else? There are a few matches over the next couple of days, but
Yeah, nothing really stuck out to me. I was looking at the Egypt Premier League. Obviously, that's one of our lower scoring leagues that we've been looking up. But we got burned the other day on that overhit randomly. So it's always tricky betting unders. So I gotta see get a little bit more feeling for that one. Yeah, like you said about the Australian game tomorrow morning. The A League is another one of those leagues. Just when you think you've got a grasp on it, then you get some underperformers. It just makes you apprehensive to really tail anything on it. And so there's some leagues out there I think we just got to keep a little bit closer eye on and see if we can get some of those trends going back in the right direction for us. For me, the Bangladesh Premier League was a little bit of of a darling for me. I'm kind of out on that now. I think we hit our flash in the pan for that one. So I'm you know, you had a top team in the league who had only conceded one goal. They were 8-0. They only conceded one goal. They scored about 22. They lost 1-0 to the second to worst place team. So things like that, like, it kind of makes me just kind of get out on it. So yeah, we just got to take a look here at some of these lower performing leagues and see if we can't get a turnaround. But definitely, we got our leagues that we keep an eye on consistently: Saudi, Qatar, Singapore. Right, those are our top three. So
Definitely. We had a chat comment about the results from the Dub Club been inconsistent lately. We're 10-5 over our last 15. That may not be 28-6 like we were a month and a half ago, but I do like those numbers. We haven't been playing as much lately. Most people who gamble on soccer don't really know the information that I know. So sometimes I'm not going after matches that other people are. I know the players better than most people. And if I'm missing, like yesterday, so yeah, Celta Vigo hit both teams to score, and it was a match that I was looking at. But Celta Vigo dropped all four of their best attacking players. No Iaga Aspas, Gonzalez, no Bamba, no Luca De La Torre, and a lot of these guys were for personal reasons and nagging injuries a little bit, and they came out played like crap. Yeah, they scored, but the goal was .03, 3 out of 100. Goalkeeper should have saved it. The goal on the offensive end from the other team was a penalty, a crap penalty. Guy goes up and instead of heading it, for some reason, he puts his arm up and it skims off of his arm as he goes to head it. Penalty. So those are infrequent things that happen. Sometimes you can hit your numbers even though you shouldn't. And that's what I am looking at always. So we're going to continue to attack when it's advantageous. And I'm really excited to get my units up. I'm excited to bet more. But right now, you're just not seeing consistency in the world of football. We have people leaving clubs like crazy. For instance, Monza yesterday, the striker for Monza, guy who's their point person, who they need, gone at Parma. They sat two of their other guys. This is just the time of year where there's speculation. We have 3 days left until this transfer speculation ends. You have Arsenal who's looking to bring in big strikers. So I know that my club is doing it. I know all the other clubs are doing it. Hell, Neymar this morning sold. We've got tons of players that are just leaving. So uh, don't be the person who wants to bet a ton right now. This is not the time. It's like if you're betting NFL playoffs, you need to bring your units down. You need to take the amount of bets down. This is not the time, in a very similar to summer ball outside of MLS. It's not the time. We're about to hit the 3 best months of the year for scoring. I'm not kidding. The 3 best months from February to March, March to April, April to the end of May. These are teams who are going to start going for it. You're going to have teams who you know what to expect, play styles. All the players are settled. We're not going to have a lot of those issues. We're not going to have as many midweek interruptions. So we're going to be starting to do that. So just wanted to make that a note. Thanks guys for everybody for coming. Russell Johnson, Sina Najad, thanks for coming. Charles Hilton, as always, thanks for coming. Claudio, thanks for coming. Again, we're just trying to highlight the best leagues right now. We don't have as much to bet on, which means we're going to be looking for the next few days. Today's just not a great day. We'll keep it very light. I'm only on a half unit again for the play for today because it's really just not that great. Prince, is there anything else that you have for us before we close shop?
No, that's gonna do it. I think you said everything there is to say. So good luck to everyone out there, and yeah, let's cash out these tickets, guys.
Appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. Again, I am Brad Betts Footy. This is Shots on Target, your go to show for global football analysis and betting. Today is Tuesday, January 28th. Thank you, Prince, for coming and joining again, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.